All right, it's another year and another YouTube short storm, or should I just say shitstorm, because this is a discussion for adults about the YouTube boogeyman. Keyword, adults. And the boogeyman being all the changes coming to YouTube as a result of their settlement with the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, over alleged COPPA violations, COPPA being the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Now, let me walk it back in case you haven't heard about this, which is probably not many of you, because it was all over the news when the settlement was announced, and a bunch of YouTubers have been talking about it. I've referenced it in other videos, but not made a dedicated video on it myself. And YouTube is just now rolling out the first steps towards the whole new site-wide policy in response to the settlement, which is why you might be seeing more of it surge back up again. It doesn't come into full effect until January 1st, 2020, but they're getting the tools ready that are going to go onto the site, and it's scaring a lot of people with the communication that they're sending about it, because it seemed kind of clear, but then they sent another email and all of a sudden it's like not as clear anymore what they were intending. And I think I'm okay. I'm pretty sure I'm okay, but it's still like the email that they sent is different than what I had heard in the past, and other people are panicking on Twitter and in YouTube videos. Anyway, let me tell you about the whole thing, the facts, what's happening on YouTube, and then I'll tell you what I think about the whole dealio. All right, sounds like fun. Let's do it. So here's the deal. Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA for short. I believe the legislation was drafted back in the 90s. The intent was to disallow internet companies from tracking data of children while they were browsing the internet. So that's why, whenever you log into a site, you have to check a box that says, I certify I'm over the age of 13. And if the website does find out that you're under the age of 13, they have to get rid of the account. There's an interesting thing on Twitter where if you signed up for an account and checked that you were 13, but you weren't, even if you're now 20 years old and they found out you created the account when you were 12, they'll end the account. So they take it very, very seriously. On YouTube, however, the violation alleges that even when people weren't logged in, YouTube was dropping cookies on their system that then allowed advertisers to track those people and play more targeted ads. So that's most advertising on the internet is targeted, ideally, so that the advertisers know that their advertisement is being shown to someone who probably has an interest in their product. And the way they do that is by dropping a cookie when you visit an associated site that is associated with that product. So if you browse a shoe website, it might drop a cookie on your system, and then you'll start seeing shoe advertisements when you go to different sites. I say that because that just happened to me after being on a shoe website. So anyway, even if a kid was watching not logged in, that could still happen. And the FTC said, no, you cannot be doing that. And so now YouTube has to make some changes to the site on top of the fine that they paid. So the changes to the site, as of right now, it looks to be this. So they're giving you a couple boxes that you can check. There's entire channel level boxes, and there's video by video level boxes. So you can designate your channel as a whole entirely to be not kid oriented or kid oriented. If you fall somewhere in the middle, and it varies on a per video basis, you can select it on each video that you upload. This video is made for kids, this video is not made for kids. And that currently looks to be the what they're doing is they're, passing on the responsibility to the uploaders themselves to designate what sort of content they're uploading to the site. That said, though, they're also trying to create machine learning algorithms to somehow identify the target demographic of a video, and that blows my mind, how you can develop tech that can identify if a video is targeted towards kids. Like, how do you do that? And what do you look at? Are you looking for like super colorful, highly saturated backgrounds? Are you looking for, can you machine learn identify that somebody is unboxing a toy on the screen? Is that possible? Like, what even do you, variables is the machine learning looking at in the video, and oh my God, dude. I have no idea. But anyway, so they're gonna have some automated system going on in the background. That's somehow gonna automatically pick up videos that they think should be categorized one way or the other. Probably more so putting things into the made for kids bucket, because they just don't want videos that are incorrectly identified as being made not for kids that are made for kids. And yeah, there's a gray area though. We'll get into that in a second. But the question is right now, right? Like, what is the enforcement? Say that someone misidentifies a video. The most obvious case for this would be a channel that is very, very clearly targeted towards kids. It's like a Spider-Man Elsa kind of thing, role play with Disney characters, or it's a toy unboxing where you have a 5-year-old unboxing toys for an audience. Very clearly child-oriented. Okay, so if they miscategorize a video and it doesn't get caught by this machine learning thing, does YouTube manually say, hey, we think this belongs in the kid category, and they recategorize it? Or does it come down to the FTC actually stepping in and pursuing a channel directly? You can't really get answers to these questions because YouTube is still developing the changes, and they don't quite even know themselves. And that's the kind of worrisome part. And they don't want to give too specific responses to anything because they don't want to give legal advice, because then they're held liable as well for the choices that the creators make. So they have to walk this fine line. So I've seen a lot of responses on videos with, wow, YouTube ruining their platform. It's like, look, I've disagreed with some changes that YouTube has made in the past. This, not their fault. They didn't want to pay $170 million. I can tell you that much. That was probably not a fun thing to have to do. And they definitely didn't want to roll out all of these new things that have you self-identifying and risk them also being held liable for things. Like, this is nothing that they wanted to be doing this year. So anyone being like, wow, I can't believe you're doing this, YouTube, wrong blame. Right, that's the blame is not to be placed on YouTube in this situation. If you want to blame anything, blame the legislation, which I think is due for a bit of an update to the modern age, because even though it was drafted in the 90s, which I guess is relatively recent in the whole scope of things, the internet changes much quicker than most other things. Anyway, let me step back a second. What are the implications if you do identify your video as being targeted towards kids? So it means that they're going to take away comments on that video. No more comments are allowed. And most important, there's some other minor, like they're going to take away the merch shelf. They're going to take away being able to click the membership button. Some other minor stuff. The most major one, though, is they cannot serve targeted advertising on that video. That's basically what accounts for the majority of a YouTuber's revenue. So if a channel is all kids content and they have to designate at the channel level that they make content targeted towards kids, wipes their ad revenue, essentially. No more targeted ads anywhere on the channel. There will be ways to sort of work around this if you have like a multi-channel network that you're a part of that knows your demographic without having to cookie it. They can sell that inventory directly to an advertiser and still be okay, but that's a lot of inventory space to have to fill. Google AdSense does it directly very well, and it's very unlikely that any sort of patching of the situation by an MCN will really account for much of a meaningful makeup in the revenue. So your ad revenue basically gets wiped, and that's how the grand majority of people on the platform are able to make a living. So it's a bit of a scary thing, and not everyone has a bunch of third-party brand deals coming in all the time, and merchandise lines and things that can account for a lack in ad revenue. So it's really no bueno, and the enforcement is that's the thing that everyone is scared of, because there are people, like I was initially scared when they rolled this out. Like, are they just going to identify Minecraft as made for kids? Like anything Minecraft related, regardless of the context, regardless of what the uploader talks about, who they're aiming at, are they just going to say Minecraft is aimed at kids no matter what and forget any other nuances? It sounds like, fortunately, that's not the case. But then they sent out this most recent email where it says, what does made for kids mean? It is directed to children as the primary audience. And I should say, in this case, when I'm saying kids, children under the age of 13. Anyone over the age of 13, not kids, not children, according to the legislation. So it is directed to children as primary audience. Example, video for preschoolers. Okay, seems pretty clear. It is directed to children, but children are a secondary audience. Example, cartoon video that primarily targets teenagers, but is also intended for younger kids. I guess the intended is a decent buffer there, because if the cartoon is definitely not intended for a younger audience, then I guess you're in the clear. But it, and then they gave more bullet points, and they posted a video on one of their channels, their internal channels, where employees like talk about features and stuff, like recommending that you talk to a lawyer, which is like, alrighty, that's comforting. Thank you guys, because they're not going to give legal advice once again for the reasons I gave before. And I mean, I should be fairly okay. I think I have never made videos with kids as the intended audience, and it's just wild though, because a year ago it had all this demonetization going around for content that was too adult, too edgy. If you curse too much, you're gonna get demonetized. If you have too adult thematic elements, you're gonna get demonetized. But now, if you're too family friendly, too kid friendly, now you're just gonna get even more screwed. Like, you want to take demonetization over your entire channel being ineligible to have any targeted advertising whatsoever. So it's like you have to thread this needle, and the eye of the needle keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I have this tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that you had to have had like lobbyists on behalf of traditional media being like, hey, yo, representative, senator, we bribed you a whole bunch, and yet our signups are still going down and YouTube is surging. We really need you to find a way to sabotage them. And the legislators are like, all right, let's take a closer look at this. We promise, please don't stop bribing us. We can figure out a solution here where we can sabotage YouTube. And well, this is what resulted. A pretty effective blow. What can I say? Good job, lobbyists, if that's how it ended up working. God, it's like, why is the website responsible for being the babysitter? Shouldn't parents be the ones who have to be responsible to monitor what their kids are watching? Isn't that how this should work? Not assigning YouTube as the gigantic big babysitter that's responsible for paying fines if they don't babysit properly? It just doesn't sound all that reasonable to me, but again, that's the law, and the only way to change it is to actually have the law rewritten, and what are the odds of that happening? Probably pretty darn slim. So, like I said, I think I will be mostly okay, but then you look at, say, let's take PewDiePie, for example, who very clearly has adult-themed videos. There's foul language in them, and yet he identifies, ironically, his audience as the 9-year-old army. There are obviously kids who do watch his content. There are kids who watch pretty much any content on YouTube regardless of who it's targeted to, let's be honest here. But because he actually identifies his audience as the 9-year-old army, would the FTC come in and be like, hey, he is admitting to these 9-year-olds and his whole channel is a violation there? Like, is that an issue? Is that going to be a problem? Or are they going to look at the context and the nuances and realize that there are distinctions between everyone's kind of content? That's the concern, is really how it is enforced. Is YouTube going to be the one policing it? Is YouTube going to say, if you have violated this, you get a community guideline strike, and if you violate it 3 times, your channel is gone? Or is it going to be up to the FTC pursuing channels directly who are violating it? Because inevitably what is going to happen is there is going to be a channel that is very clearly targeted at kids, like the nursery rhymes, the toy unboxings, the Spider-Man Elsa stuff. They're gonna say, whoa, I don't wanna lose all my ad revenue. So they're gonna select at the channel level, no, my content isn't made for kids, but they're gonna keep doing what they do. And that's gonna be the real test as to what happens, right? There is a fine of $42,000 per violation of miscategorizing a video, payable to the FTC. So is there going to be someone who is made an example of? That's the concern. Who is it going to be? How strict are they going to be on who that is? And I feel like I want to believe that this is being made for the channels that are like very, very clearly targeted towards kids, and it's not so much going to be for those who are in more of a gray area where it's like they make videos that are family friendly. Like, think of all the educational channels out there talking about like complex subjects that are probably more easily digestible by adults, but still they talk in a family friendly way. They have graphics on the screen that kids could appreciate. I want to believe that this isn't targeted at channels like that, but you never know how it's actually going to end up being enforced, especially if it's going to be by automated algorithms. And will the automated algorithm do something as drastic as set your channel as a whole to only making videos directed towards kids and then just single-handedly wipe out your revenue? That's the concern. And we don't know all the answers yet. And even once everything is fully rolled out come January 1st, we're not really fully gonna know until things start getting enforced in the weeks to come. And it's gonna be a bit of a scary, uncertain time for many people. And then you have the people who are on the other end where it's like really adult content, clearly, and lots of swearing, and they can't earn money because all their videos get the yellow ad symbol because they're demonetized for swearing too much. So it's like, what do you do? What do you do, man? I don't know. All I can say is diversify, I guess. Go to represent.com/store/CaptainSparklez and grab yourself some Creeper Aw Man or other related merchandise that you might enjoy. Also, gonna be launching an athleisure line here in the coming weeks. Quality content, which I meant that will be happening too. So you'll want to check it out once it's launched. I will do a separate thing on that once it's happened. But then even with that, the concern is like, are sponsors not going to want to be associated with child-directed channels because they perceive there could be a blowback for that? Or what are the policies for branded integrations on a channel that's directed towards kids? Are you not allowed to do that? You're not allowed to do a sponsored video and say, hey, this is a product if it's... I don't know. I don't know how it all works. Anyway, I'm going to keep on doing what I do because I have never intended for my audience to be young kids. And in fact, I've felt very awkward at conventions when I've had a parent. Oh, there's that one specific instance that made it into a PewDiePie video not too long ago where the woman, it was at Minecon 2013, I think. She comes up to the mic at a panel and she's like, just want to thank you for keeping it really clean so my kid can watch. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. And then in the video, it does like a Curb Your Enthusiasm cut to me just cursing my ass off as a result of like getting jump scared by Slenderman in the old Slenderman video. So, yeah, back when I started, I was always intending for the people to be watching my videos like of the same age. So 18 years old is when I started, and I had always intended that I was like making videos for my peers. That's kind of always how it's been. I did like probably 6 years ago, back when there was really a rise in like that child-leaning content, the Minecraft like role play stuff, with like, you know, characters doing voice acting for characters of really like young thematic stuff. I was like, man, this is doing really well. Should I hop on board? Should I do it? Should I do it? Look, oh man, it could be a really big thing. And then I was like, it's not really what I ever wanted to do. And I feel like it wouldn't really be true to myself. It would be more doing it for the sake of trying to have this big channel that fits in with the trends. Boy, am I glad I didn't do that now. My goodness, that would have been a gigantic mistake. I never would have guessed it back then, but whew, thank goodness I had that reasoning. Man, how wrecked I would have been. Anyway, I'm nervous, certainly. I'm nervous on behalf of a lot of other people who are quite obviously in a not as good bucket. I think I'm in a pretty decent bucket myself, given my intended audience on things, despite like Minecraft, obviously kids play it, but I make thematic references to adult things pretty regularly, because I don't like to hold myself back too much other than the forks and the shorts and stuff like that, or the shitstorms. But at the end of the day, don't blame YouTube for this. They're the last ones who wanted to actually do anything like this. You think they wanted to pay $170 million? Don't think so. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody. So, we'll see. I hope that it is used really only for those channels that are very clearly kid-oriented and there isn't a great deal of collateral damage from systems incorrectly categorizing videos, and it's gonna be a wild time, man, oh man. But we'll see. Maybe, I'm sure that Google is probably pushing for, hey, can we revisit this legislation because this is ridiculous? So maybe something will come of that, but who knows? My tinfoil hat, I think there's some lobbying going on by traditional media to try to sabotage YouTube. So that's where we'll end it for now. We'll see where things go in the future. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep on making my vids. Hopefully they'll keep on being available to you. And that's it. I'll see you next time.